What is up, everybody? Purple and Gold podcast on this Easter Sunday, April the 5th. What a weekend for LSU sports, LSU gymnastics, LSU softball, LSU baseball. We will recap it all. Let's start with LSU's gymnastics team. Kaylin Chio, another three perfect tens over two meets. LSU advances to the national semifinals.
Sounds like you're kicking off a great sports recap show.
Alexa off.
LSU's been on fire
Alexa
this weekend
off.
with gymnastics, softball, and
Ziggy
baseball.
off. Sorry about that, everybody. They are in the last 8 and will compete for the national championship in 2 weeks. Little bit of bad news in the gymnastics meet. Connor McLean did get injured on her bars routine. She had a nasty fall. It looks like some sort of a wrist, elbow, arm injury. Jay Clark said they will evaluate that, and her availability for the national championship may be in question, but LSU gymnastics rolled. And certainly that is something that we will monitor over the next couple of weeks. Tigers will have a chance at another national title. LSU softball wins 2 out of 3 at Missouri. Kylie Edwards hits for the cycle. She becomes the first LSU softball player to hit for a cycle. And the Lady Tigers, the last couple of weekends, has sort of come out of their funk against Oklahoma and Missouri. And they've shown some signs of life there. And then LSU baseball takes 2 out of 3 against Tennessee, gets back to 6-6. And let's talk all about it. So on Friday, LSU trailed 4-1 late, and Derek Curiel hit a go-ahead grand slam to give LSU the lead, which Tennessee would eventually tie it. LSU would score again on a Seth Dardar home run. Devin Sheeran would close the game, and LSU won 7-5. On Saturday, Tennessee really took it to LSU. They had the lead. Cam Appenzeller, a freshman, came out of the bullpen to retire the last 15 LSU hitters, and Tennessee won the Saturday game. That set up an all-important rubber match today, which, quite frankly, was a emotional roller coaster. So you're going into this game today and you're saying, okay, LSU's 5-6. If they can somehow win this game, the math starts to look a little better. LSU gets to 6-6. And based on some of the other results in the league this week, maybe LSU is actually back in the middle of the pack, if not back to having a chance to get back into the upper echelon of the league. And LSU comes out and they commit Zach York commits a very bad error, another second very bad error that he made on the weekend. That leads to a Tennessee run. Tennessee's up 1-0. And then later in that inning, Milam trying to go from short to second. A little bit of an errant throw, but Seth Dardar has it in his glove, can't catch it. It's an error on Milam, his first of the year. Probably should have been an error on Dardar. Keeps the inning alive, loads the bases, and then Blaine Brown from Tennessee unloads a grand slam, and it's 5-0, and you're thinking, okay, this is just not LSU's day. It's just not LSU's season. But we know Tennessee has had a penchant for blowing leads. And so Zach Cowan comes out of the LSU bullpen, and he was just, quite frankly, incredible. Nails this thing down, holds Tennessee scoreless. LSU gets a solo home run from Kate Aronbeatty. Seth Dardar hits a homer. Aronbeatty hits another homer. Long story short, it's 5-4, and we go to the 9th inning, and LSU's got a runner on with 1 out, and Aronbeatty at the plate, and one of the worst strike three calls you will ever see happens to Cade Arrambide. Jay Johnson gets tossed. LSU keeps the inning alive on a Dardar single. Chris Stanfield gets an infield single to tie the game. The game goes to extra inning. I'm sorry, Chris Stanfield's hit by a pitch. Jake Brown gets an infield single to tie the game. The game goes to extra innings, tied at 5. LSU eventually takes a 6-5 lead, but not before that. Derek Curiel misses home plate on what would have been a 6-5 lead for LSU on a single by Milam and an error on the right fielder. Curiel comes all the way around from first, misses home plate, is tagged out. Milam ends up at third with 1 out. LSU can't get that run in. Game remains tied. LSU eventually takes a 6-5 lead. Tennessee ties it on a great play by Curiel. They have a runner at third with 1 out. And Tennessee hits a near home run. Curiel's at the wall. He leaps, makes a great catch, keeps the game, keeps the ball in the yard, 6-6 on a sacrifice fly. And then we go to the 12th inning, and LSU sets a record. Cade Arrambide hits a grand slam. LSU scores 10 runs in the inning, and LSU wins the game 16-6. Cade Arrambide was 5 for 6, 7 RBIs. He became the first LSU player ever to hit 4 home runs in a game. I'll say that again because LSU's had an unbelievable history in college baseball, and Cade Arrambide is the first LSU player ever to hit 4 home runs in a game. LSU hit 7 home runs. LSU's 10 runs in an extra inning were the most that they've ever scored. They had scored 7 runs in an extra inning twice, once in 1994 against Auburn, once in an extra inning NCAA tournament game against Long Beach. The 10 runs that LSU scored is now a new LSU record for runs in an extra inning, and LSU wins it 16-6. Huge ups to Zach Cowan, Gavin Guidry, others, Stephen Milam, obviously Cade Arrambide, Derek Curiel, Jake Brown's infield single kept the game alive. This was a total team effort, a total team win, and this is the second straight Sunday. LSU trailed 7-0 last Sunday. They trailed 5-0 today, that they have rallied to win. This team is starting to show you some of the fight that you were looking for earlier in the season. Is this team perfect? Goodness, no. 4 errors today. Many plays that you would say should be made that are not made, whether they're not errors or whether they're base running mistakes or whether they're just general plays, wild pitches, pass balls. LSU is a flawed baseball team. There's no question about that. But they've fought their way back to a 6-6 record in the SEC. They're going to play Ole Miss on the road next week. And this LSU team really, I know you can't say it like this. They're a play or two away from being 8-4. They're also a play or two away, obviously, from being 4-8. Some of that stuff has a tendency to even out. But this team really has shown you an ability to, at least the last couple of weeks, overcome some of their inherent deficiencies, especially on Sundays. LSU scored a boatload of runs on Sunday to win at Vanderbilt. They scored a boatload of runs last Sunday, scored 16 runs today. They're showing you an ability to outlast some of these teams in an SEC series, and LSU has put themselves right back in the middle of the pack here and right back in a position to be possibly even a team that gets back into the top 25 and possibly a team that gets back into the hosting discussion if you can now go on to Ole Miss and maybe win another series. We will have a lot of time to talk about that. LSU will play Bethune-Cookman on Tuesday night, and then the Tigers will hit the road again to go to Oxford and Swayze Field and play Ole Miss. That'll do it for today. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your Easter. Enjoy the rest of your holiday. Be good to one another. Always boot up. And always, always, always go Tigers.